The thing I don't understand though is that if I say that I prefer if something is this way, a lot of people are offended, like, oh, like, why do you want it to be this way, blah blah blah. But then other people say, oh, but I want this. I'm totally cool with people wanting, you know, how the ledge works in Ultimate. I'm cool with that. I don't agree, but I'm cool with it. But a lot of people have an issue with me not, you know, agreeing with them. That's something I don't really understand. It's like yes, it's like an agree to disagree situation. Like, some people prefer how the ledges are in Ultimate, some people prefer how they are in Melee. For me personally, I like certain parts of how they work in Melee, but I would actually change how the ledges works in Melee too. I would change some stuff with it. Like, I don't think you should get invincibility back forever. I think that's silly. So even though I like the core concept of how the ledges works, I would not want like invincibility forever. So that's something I would change about Melee. Did you guys hear that? I would change something in Melee. I admit that Melee is not 100% perfect. Please do not tell anyone. Please do not tell anyone. But yeah, I'll also change how like ledge dashes, for example. I think ledge dashes are fine, but I feel like Fox, Falco, for example, have way too long ledge, like way too much invincibility on their ledge dashes. I think more something like Marth ledge dash is fine, but when they start having like 11 frames of like invincibility and stuff, more than that sometimes, it's too much. I think it's like 13 or 14 for like Fox. I think that's way too much. I know it's hard to get a perfect ledge dash like that, but even so, I think it's too much. Melee ledge grab limit. Well, the thing is, if you didn't get invincibility after re-grabbing 3-4 times, then no one would camp the ledge. So I don't think a ledge grab limit would be necessary if you lost your invincibility if you re-grab it 3-4 times. Alright, so some random Twitch chat warrior is telling me how to learn how this game works. Alright. Thanks, buddy. It's not like I was at Summit and played against all these top players and took plenty of games against all of them except for the boss. I'll admit, the boss I had a very hard time against and it took very few games. But everyone else I did very respectable against. But yeah, of course, just because I don't like the ultimate ledges, it must mean that I don't know how it works. Despite beating CD, despite beating Zero, taking a game of Cosmos. But yeah, just because I don't like it must mean I don't like, or it must mean that I don't understand how they work. Thank you for, you know, informing me. I would not have known without your knowledge. Why not give everyone 14 frames instead of reducing the spacies? Because I think 14 frames when you're cornered, like you are at the ledge. It's the same thing here. I don't think being at the ledge should be, I don't think it should be that strong, you know? You are cornered. You are supposed to be in a bad position. I know it's hard to pull off. I was far from the best ledge dasher myself, but I still think like it's a little bit too strong to have that much invincibility when you're at the ledge. The thing is, I know a bunch of people that know how the ledge works in Melee, and some people still don't like it. I'm cool with that. But it's like when people say things that are objectively 100% false, and that's why they dislike Melee, like Melee ledges. Then I try to explain how it does work. But if someone like, let's say, I'd say someone like Nairo or Tweak or MKLeo would be like, they understand how the Melee ledge work and they don't like how it works, I'll be like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool, you know? I'm not gonna say like, oh, you don't understand it because you dislike it. It's like, no. But way too many people online that actually have no fucking clue what they are talking about. And it's not even just assumptions. A lot of times they're literally saying things that can be easily disproven. And that's why I say, like, I have to explain it, you know? Yeah, I 100% agree, Jesus. That's one of the flaws with the Melee ledge, I would say as well. That you can re-grab it. Like, The concept of re-grabbing it too many times, I don't like. If we put it this way, if you didn't have invincibility each time you re-grab it, I don't think people would re-grab it. Like in this game, like since you lose your invincibility immediately if you grab it again, the game doesn't reward you in any way to keep grabbing the ledge. Oh, what the hell? Yes, I do agree. I think, as I said, 3 or 4 times, I think that will be fine. Because in some edge guard sequences, you need to re-grab the ledge in order to like keep edge guarding. So I think like 3 or 4 also gives you like a little bit of like, oh, am I gonna go up now? Or, you know, like a little bit later. So I'm cool with a few times with invincibility. 3 or 4, I think is like a good number. Actually, because it was so many people on my last upload, they were like some people totally understand or understood what I meant, but a lot of people were like, you know, quite mad. So I might make a goal of like changes I would make to melee overall. I know we talked a little bit about the ledge, but like other stuff as well that I would have changed from the start if I knew, you know, and could at the time. When do you recommend using Inkling Snare? You have follow-ups from up throw at certain percentages where you can do like nair into reverse nair into back air, for example, or like upper conversions into nair. Falling nair is also good. Like Inkling's bear into grab starts being true around like 25-30. Before that, you have like back air into jab as a true follow-up. But a nair into grab, like falling nair into grab, is true already at 0. So sometimes when I fall down with a move, I like to fall down with nair. No, Rook, I sincerely hate McDonald's. So why would I even... Like, it's not even only about the penny. Why would I, like, take the time to go to such a smelly, disgusting place and then also pay for it? Inkling obviously have a good recovery, but despite that, I feel like people do overrate it a bit. Don't get me wrong though, as I said, it's really good, but the fact that it's no hitbox means that you can't, especially if you have long-lasting moves. Like Wario's down air, for example, is incredibly good at dealing with Inkling's up B, because you have no hitbox protecting you. So what like Gluttony does, for example, is that he always falls down with down air to protect the ledge. Yeah, I think I like the concept of parry, but I think it would be cool if they made parry slightly harder, but slightly more rewarding. Yeah, it's always hard to like compare the Japanese and North American players. They do play kind of often, but not super often. But honestly, that's always one thing I was I wouldn't say jealous, but I always think it's so cool that Ultimate and Smash 4 in the past as well, even Japan, or even the Brawl to a little extent, had more of like you know, more countries being relevant. That's like one of my least favorite things with Melee, how it was so the US centric. I always wish it was more international players in Melee. But I think part of the reason is just that Melee's been out for so long, so it's harder for newer regions to like catch up. And in stuff like summit votings and stuff, it's kind of like the Americans don't want it to like grow more. Maybe that's a little bit unfair way to put it, but when important chances don't end up for like other countries, it like only pushes like the US scene more, which means that it's harder for the rest of the world to catch up as well. How can you not feel the buffer? All right, I'll let you know. So take Inkling for example and press up throw. While the up throw animation is still going on, you can hold Y for like a quarter second before your character is actionable, and it will jump out on frame 1. You can hold in shoulder buttons to buffer air dodge, so it come out as soon as possible. So if you get like thrown, for example, you can like start really early to just hold the shoulder button, and you will air dodge. The buffer is insane. It's actually incredibly long. Or like, let's say you're falling down with an aerial. Let's say the ground is here and you're here and you do a fair. You can already start holding jump while in the fair animation. Like way above the ground. And you will jump out as soon as possible. You get rewarded with frame perfect jump timing by holding the button like a quarter of a second in advance. So that's like when people say like, oh, it's like so much timing. I'm like, what the hell do you mean? How is holding the button? Like, look here. When I do my fair here, I already start holding jump. I'm so far above the ground. And then it jumps frame perfectly. Those combos I do, upper up airs, when I'm like right after, like right as the second upper or first upper, if that's the one I'm talking about, as soon as that one is about to end, I hold jump. Probably around a quarter a second before I actually land. And I get rewarded with frame perfect jump timing. I think that's incredibly silly. But if I say that, apparently you love melee too much and you're just a hater. Do I think the buffer was made just to offset input delay online or for casuals or both? Probably both. But if it is for both, it actually makes me a bit mad because that's like Nintendo like literally admitting that on purpose they made online shitty and they just tried to like make it more acceptable with having awful input delay. Yeah, I feel like Little Mac is like exaggerated in his design. I don't mind a character being really, really good on the ground and limited in the air, but they like try to overdo it. Like, tone it down. Make him a little bit worse on the ground, but a lot better in the air. And then make some like overall changes to his character as well. Because I feel like if Little Mac was like a top tier character, he would be so fucking annoying to fight against. Yeah, I agree. Little Mac is way too much of a extreme. That's why I don't really want him buffed. Like, sure, he's the worst character in the game. At least according to most people. And even if you don't agree about him being the worst in the game, it's very obvious that he's a bad character. But he's so extreme that if you buff him too much, it can easily be too much is what I'm trying to say. We should never take too much, like, we should never take away too much from a tournament. Like, next event, maybe Japan gets, you know, wrecked. But I'm honestly not too surprised that Japan have done or did pretty good. I feel like in Brawl, Japan was clearly at the same level as the US, if not better. It was like kind of between Japan and then Jersey. They had like very many good Brawl players, like Nairo, Mewtwo King, Vinny, Anti, you name it. There was like so many good players from that region, right? But Japan could compete with that. But in Smash 4, that was like when esports started to be more of a thing. But Japan didn't really get all the advantages that the US got. Like, people were flown out to tournaments all the time. It happens for Japanese players, but they're much more limited in a sense. So I feel like that put the US ahead of Japan. But now it's like Japan is still behind in that regard. But they have gotten time to get used to it, and they still get more and more chances. A few players are sponsored, get to fly out more. Stuff like that helps. It helps. The thing is also, I think, okay, to be entirely honest, this is more what I've heard rather than like entirely experienced myself. So if this is wrong, don't read into it too much. But I've heard that in Japan, they're much more like almost working like a team, you know? Like all the players, they play together, share knowledge together, stuff like that. While in the US, people are more competing on their own, while Japan is almost more like a team. I can see Humpus rage. I can see Hampus rage. Well, the thing is, Gluttony has always been really good, but he was like loyal to Wario in Smash 4, despite Wario being very bad. So I think that was like the main reason he did poorly in Smash 4, relatively speaking. Because he was really good in Brawl. When Ally was like one of the absolutely best in Brawl, Ally might have been actually considered the best in North America at the time. Or at least like top 5. And Gluttony was only like 14 or something at the time. And he beat Ally. But yeah, sticking to awful characters is never a good idea if you want to compete at the top.